Gilgo Beach Homicide Task Force has used New York State, local and federal enforcement agencies to try and solve these cases. 10 bodies that were found along Ocean Parkway on Long Island.
That task force eventually was key in the arrest of Rex Heuermann, who was charged with the murder of 4 of the victims found on Gilgo Beach.
Of course, we reported about it extensively, but now, according to Newsday, that task force is expected to broaden its search. Speaking with Suffolk County District Attorney Ray Tierney, the paper says the task force will now begin looking at other unsolved cases involving human remains, not just the ones on Gilgo Beach. Here with more on exactly what that means, ABC News analyst Bob Boyce. Chief, great to see you as always, and I want to jump right in because there's a lot to get to. If you would, explain what this task force does. And it's a two-part question. Explain what the task force does and then how the resources as part of that task force will maybe be deployed to help some of these other unsolved cases.
So in law enforcement, these partnerships we have with federal, local, and state are very important. And I tell you, we had started many in the NYPD, and they delivered great results. So you just go from partnerships into the task forces, and what do those task forces bring? Experience, investigative tools, data systems that not everybody shares, and that's one of the keys here. And also a good vibe about working together, and that's important to have too. Also important, whoever's in charge of the task force should be speaking with one voice and one voice only. There's confidentiality issues here that have to grow from there.
Okay, Bob, so we start with Rex Heuermann, this big break in the case, and now we have this new suspect, Bitroff, I believe that is his name. And, you know, some of these cryptic words, like it's morphed into something else. They're taking a fresh look at these bodies. Talk about how complex this now is.
Sure. So when this happened, when the Gilgo 4, the arrests were made on Heuermann, immediately look at the other remains that were found. Those other ladies who were found as well. And 2 come to bear almost immediately, Valerie Mack and Jessica Taylor. What's clear about them and what's key about them is the fact that part of their remains were dismembered. And part were found in Manorville, which is far east of that location, and Gilgo Beach. That in itself is a pattern. So I think we're moving on to another pattern right now, and that seems to be the issue. There's another lady involved, Sandra Castilla, whose case was never solved. So they're looking at that as Bitroff for that. Bitroff is already in jail for committing 2 murders. Right. Yeah, 50 years to life. He's not getting out. So that's what you're looking at right now. Is he's the new focus of the investigation.
And just talk about quickly the connection here, because we're saying there is no connection. But what is it about this particular area where you're now talking about 2 possible serial killers here?
So Charlene, it's a little bit different from Gilgo. It's heavily forested. It's larger than Gilgo, and you need resources. So you need cadaver dogs, you need equipment, you need helicopters. All these things have to be brought to bear. It's a 9-day search. So you're in the middle. You're in good weather at least, thankfully, and you're looking for anything you can find. Right? Is there other remains? And also, how many other victims are there that have been reported? That's the scary part of this thing. Just when does this end? It's just not the 10 victims over at Gilgo anymore. Now we're moving into a different area. And we're going to have to wait and see what this task force comes up with.
Yeah. And so having a task force and expanding that task force allows these departments to have the resources they need to do that?
Yes, Danny. And again, it's the data systems. That's really important here. Not everybody shares data systems, especially the feds to the local police. So now you can do a broader search across the country when you have certain information you can add into that database. And maybe you can find something else. Bitroff is sitting in jail right now. Who did he speak to? Who's he speaking with? Who's visiting him? All those things are important. And you can get corrections department. We've learned from the first Gilgo case what was missed in the initial investigation, what the feds gave them, those 2 boxes, and how they were acting on. So it's important to understand clear leadership and confidentiality. That's what's going forward here.
We'll see how it plays out. Chief.